I'm creating a video about the idea of what it's like to live in Israel during a war with one of our neighbors. We have so many wars. Boom, Corona craziness hits. And as I look down at this template, this outline I'm creating, I very quickly notice that there are a large amount of things that are similar between what's going on now, this isolation, this forced isolation, the forced quarantine going on with the coronavirus, and living in Israel during a war. I want to talk about three of the things that I'm experiencing or that I have experienced, because I'm going to talk about a blend, a meld, if you will, of facing the coronavirus in Israel as an American immigrant. And then I'm also going to talk about what it's like to live in Israel during a typical war that we have with our neighbors, which you guys know Israel is world famous for. So the first thing that I've noticed that changes in Israel during a war, during this corona craziness, is the sights, the things that I see, right? Because of course, out of the five senses, the eyes work. The eyes absorb a lot of things. And the first thing I notice is an attempt during these times of trauma here in Israel to maintain a sense of normalcy, meaning to try to keep a society moving when there's a war, in the middle of very long turmoils that if you do not live in Israel and you've heard about them on the mainstream media, you'll hear about turmoils in Israel. Believe it or not, and certainly where I'm at in Tel Aviv, cities maintain a sense of normalcy. Buses run, people go to work, people do things. People live their lives, they go to the grocery store, they have to survive in a city, right? Now, what does that mean? Are they at 100% capacity? Meaning, is everything open and functioning? No, that's not the case. During a major war in Israel, there's a lot less things open a lot of the time. What you see with your eyes during times of war and during this time of coronavirus is media coverage extensive. Your eyes, all you're going to see is reminders of this negativity, dare I say, during these times of turmoil, which is kind of sort of anti-progressive. It's kind of it's silly, but it's the way it is, and it's on our minds, it's on people's minds, and so that's what they're going to naturally do is add it to every element of their lives, and so you will see nothing but news coverage, TV, everything about war, or in this case, the coronavirus, 24/7. So the second thing that I've experienced living in Israel during times of war with our neighboring countries as an American is I've noticed that the sounds of the city change. And one sound that is not going to surprise you during a time of war, and this is something that really doesn't apply to the corona craziness. This is something that is a difference, not something that's similar because of the corona, is what you hear. And what you hear during times of war is the anti-missile defense system that Israel has developed in full function, meaning you will hear explosions above your head during times of war in Israel. Depending on where you live, it could be very, very often that you hear boom and explosions in the sky. And this can be kind of startling actually at first. I've been living in Israel for 10 years, and so I'm used to this. But the sounds during war, you can hear the booms, you can hear the people, everybody around you talking about war, talking about the corona. And another element of living in Israel during a war is going to be the sounds of sirens. And if you've ever heard an anti-air attack siren, meaning it's a classic siren that you hear in a DJ Khaled song. And so, yes, this is something else that you're going to hear that's different, or that's definitely not normal as far as your day-to-day life in Israel. Let's push forward. The final thing, aside from the sights and the sounds of living in Israel during a war, is the energy. The energy in Israel is noticeably different. But first, I'm going to have to tell you, I'm talking about the invisible, the unseen things going on. And you have to know that there are unseen energies in movement going on around you. You can sense when somebody's scared. That's something you can sense with the energy in Israel. Certainly right now, sorry, got a message. Certainly right now, during times of trauma, the corona, and definitely during times of war, you will sense large amounts of fear. The other energy that you're going to sense in Israel during times of war, during times of trauma like this corona, and it's very natural for human beings to emit this energy during these types of times, is stress. And so in Israel, whether there's corona or not, whether there's a horrible virus situation happening in the world or not, Israel is a relatively stressed out place. I can feel the energy as far as stress levels rising and increasing in Israel during these times of trauma. This is not that surprising, but if you've ever experienced high levels of stress and trauma, which you have, then you know what that does as far as energies in a society as a whole. It's pretty powerful. But those are just some of my observations living in Israel during a war, during times of trauma like this coronavirus situation. If you haven't done it yet, subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching the video. You guys take care. Leave your comments, hit the thumbs up button, and speak to you soon.